Hi everybody, Deep Elements here. Thanks so much for joining me. Today I'm going to show you how to take prims out of Second Life and simply turn them into mesh and also bring down the land impact on it as much as possible. So what we have here, let's get right into it, is we have a series of different mesh boxes I've made. I've made them into walls, posts, into one giant base on the bottom, and I've also made separate level prims to be different floors, and this is just a model here, okay? So the land impact of these prims is 21, which is high. So what we want to do is we want to take these prims out of Second Life, and we want to turn it into mesh, and the objective here is to bring that land impact down and to optimize this. So what we're going to do is go back into edit mode, and I'm going to show you exactly how to do this. Select everything. Now we're going to export it out of here, and we will work with it real quickly in Blender, and then we'll bring it right back in. Right click and click on more. Click on more again, and now click on Save As. And you want to choose Colada, which is a DAE file. Once you select that, you don't need to have any of that selected. Click on Save As and choose the directory that you want to save it to. So I'm going to save this as Object 1. I'll save it on my desktop. Save. Okay. Excellent. So now you're going to open up Blender. Blender is absolutely free. I'm currently using version 2.79b. I don't know if that's relevant, but okay, so we're going to import that model. Go to File and go down to Import and choose the very first option for Colada. Choose the directory that you saved that model to. My desktop, I saved it as Object 1. You can leave everything here as it is. As you notice on mine, nothing is checked. I import. Okay. So scrolling back on my mouse button, I'm able to go ahead and take a look. Holding down my middle mouse button, I'm able to rotate the model around. And as you can see, everything is auto-selected, and I have these prims that I have now imported into my Blender. Excellent. Now over here, we have a listing of all the different parts that are in the model. And if I hover my mouse over here, I can elongate this so I can see everything. Now I'm going to only select one of them instead of having them all selected, and I'm going to pick the very first one. It will be called Prim 0. Now, I'm just going to click on this wall and I want to show you. So right now, going into edit mode down here, as you can see, we are going to make this cleaner by taking away these 9 different boxes and making it one. So we're going to use a modifier, and we're going to use a modifier on all the prims here so that we can bring down the land impact and then export it as a mesh. But currently this is what it looks like as far as the topology of this model. Object mode, and I'll select this wall. To select, you click the right mouse button, and then I'll go back into edit mode, and as you can see, there's a lot of complexity in the model. Alright, so now we're going to tend to this. You want to select the very first one, the one that is called Prim 0. It should be the only thing highlighted. Now what you want to do is down over here on your toolbar where the wrench is, you want to click that, and we're going to add a modifier. Click here and go to Decimate. Now click on Planner. Notice how the initial default is 5 degrees. If you have rounded objects and you have prims that you've brought in that are not in a uniform 90-degree configuration, as far as each piece being boxes, you may want to keep this at 5, or you may want to play around with this. In this model case, I put in 80, and I always click on Sharp. So now I've created this modifier, and it's ready to go, and I have it on my very first one. Now what I want to do is I want to select the next one. And what I'm going to do is hold down the Shift key. And as I'm holding the Shift key, I want to select down the list. And this is allowing me to manually select all the parts that don't have that modifier on it. And now while still holding down the shift key, I go back up to the top and now I add that last. And now I have everything selected and it's showing me this modifier here. I simply bring my mouse over the model, hold down Control, and press L. And I'm going to scroll to modifiers and I'm going to select that. That's going to link that modifier now to all of my selection. Now again, I'm going to select on PRIM 0, so that's the only one selected. And then I'm going to begin applying the modifier all the way down the list. So I'm going to click Apply, 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 and I'm just going to go down the list. And this is the only thing that you actually need to do to simply not just convert to mesh, but to also bring down the land impact and consolidate it. There is also an additional step that you can do, which I'm going to do and show you. If you want to be extra meticulous, you can also delete any faces that are hidden. And when you do that with a large build, you will actually be able to successfully lower your land impact additionally by taking those meticulous steps. So, okay, we have decimated this entire model. What I'm going to do is I'm going to right click back on this wall, and we're going to go into edit again to look at what we've done. Now as you can see, this face and that face, it's now only one quad box, one quad poly. And we've taken 9 boxes and turned it into only one. And we've done that for every single part of this model. So every single PRIM has now been optimized. When this is uploaded into Second Life, it will be converted into a triangular format. So there may be one line or something very similar to that that gets modified with it. But this is the optimal configuration now. So what we're going to do is we're going to put this right back into Second Life. And we're going to see what the difference is in the land impact. So I'm going to go to here. It's not necessary to manually select everything. However, sometimes I choose to do that just because that's just one of my ways. Everything is selected here. Now we're going to go to File, and we're going to export this now. And we choose the second Collada option, Default, DAE file. And you want to make sure that Selection Only is checked off. And choose the directory. And I'm going to call this back to SL1. And this will be the first one we send out as the typical land impact reduction. And then I'll show you a little meticulous step and we'll see how much of a difference that makes. So we've exported that. Let's go back over to the beta grid. As we can see, in PRIMs, it's 21 land impact. So now what we're going to do is upload this mesh optimized version. Go to Build, Upload, Mesh Model, and we're going to select back to SLDAE, Open. We'll keep everything as it is, red as default. Let's call this back to SL1 and make it match. Calculate weights and fees. And this is saying that it's 10 land impact. So it's reduced it down from 21 to 10. So we've already cut it down by half. What I usually do is on lowest, especially for a large object, is I always make lowest 1. And this is an additional optimization feature, I believe, that isn't really available in 4 layers when using the mesh generator. So in this way you can further optimize your land impact by having access to lowest and not just high, medium, and low. So I'm going to change that to 1, and I'm going to keep low exactly as it is. So we had it at roughly 10. We'll calculate it again. Oh, it's still at 10.5. We'll make that 1 as well. I always play a little bit, but for the large part of a structure like this, it would be 1 and 1. Oh, I suppose it doesn't matter on this model. And then I usually restart over too if I am going to leave it at the default. So, okay, back to SL1, and we're just going to keep all the defaults on it. going to be 10.5 land impact. Now, there's also physics, okay? And I'm going to get into this into another video. But be mindful that you do have another component to your mesh, and it is the physics of your mesh. And a physics will be automatically applied, as you can see here, and on this model it's going to be 4.2. okay, so right now we've got it down to 10.5 for land impact, and then we can upload it. Let's do it. Should be very quick, and it was 32 Linden. Okay, and let's go here and let's res it out. Okay, so we have this model here now. They're identical, and what we have here is it is 11. 10.5 got rounded up to 11. We have 11 land impact versus the original prims that we started with at 21. But we can still do better than that. So we can go above and beyond a little bit more. Okay, what we're going to do is go back into Blender, and we have our model. So what we're going to do is we're going to do a little grouping. Okay, we have each and every single component of this model broken up in individual prims. However, thinking of it perhaps from a texturing standpoint, you might also think, there are some things that could be grouped, such as, for example, not including the center, but we could include the center. Let's just do that for this example here. We can include all of these posts. So that's Prim 19. Holding down the Shift key, you can select multiples. So I'm going to hold down the Shift key, and I'm going to right click on this one, and I'm going to continue to hold down the Shift key and select all of these, and I'm going to end up grouping them together as one, and I'm going to reduce the number of parts that I have here. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 of these all selected. Now you can also see from the orange highlight which ones that they are in this list. I'm going to join them, and I'm going to hold down Control, and I'm going to press J. And notice that my mouse is also within this screen. It may not work if it's here, so you have to make sure the mouse is just within this window. Now you'll notice that this count went down extremely, and we have one Prim 16. They were all consolidated into the one that was called Prim 16. And what I'll also do is I will right click, and I will rename that, and I'm going to call that Posts. Excellent. Next, I'm going to, well, there'll be 2 steps that you actually take with these, but I'll show you the next step after this. We're going to do it in layers. So we got posts. Let's get all the walls. I'm going to right click, I'm going to hold down Shift, and I'm going to hold down all the walls. So I have all the walls selected. To my knowledge, yep. I'm going to do Control J and 14. Right click it, rename, and I'm going to call that Walls. Excellent. And I am going to combine the base, holding down Shift, select the floor here, this floor and that floor. And what you are able to do if you want to double check is you can actually move it and do Control Z to put it back, just to make sure you've got everything you want. Again, I'm going to join this, and I'm going to call it, like, base flooring. And what else do we have here? We've got 2 prims that are outstanding. Oh, I must have forgotten these walls, and that's okay. I'm going to select that, I'm going to select that, and holding down Shift, I'm also going to select walls. And I'm going to join that all together. Oops, gotta have it over here. Control J, and I just joined that all together. Okay. So now I have my walls, and that should be all the walls. Control Z. Alright, so now we have posts, walls, and base flooring. We've consolidated everything into 3 different groups now. So now what we can try doing is exporting this again and see if there's any land impact difference. I've selected all 3 of these by holding down the Shift key and individually selecting them. I'm going to go to File, I'm going to export this, and again, Consolidate default DAE file. Selection only is now already checked because I just did that. I'm going to do it to the same folder, and I'm going to call this back to SL2 and export that. Now let's upload that and see what the land impact is of it. Build, upload, mesh model. Back to SL2, open. Back to SL2, calculate weights and fees. And now you'll notice the land impact has dropped down to 8. So, and it's 8.0, which means it shouldn't be rounded up from 8. That's really nice. So let's upload that one. And nothing, no quality in the model has been sacrificed. This is the process of optimization and being able to obtain the lowest land impact for your build, so that you can have optimal flexibility to be able to, you know, work with all the other prims. So now we have that. And it is at 8 land impact, which is wonderful. Okay. Let me just move these a little closer together. Okay. Now, let's go back into Blender. And we're going to click on the first one, base flooring. And now what we can do to consolidate, it may impact your land impact here, is working with your materials. So down here on the bottom, we have base flooring selected. We'll go over to here, and for the base flooring, we know it's a joined grouping, but there's a lot of materials here. Look at all those materials that are assigned in there. So what we can do is we can actually delete all of these. I'm going to delete all of these. Yeah. Okay. Now what you can do, if you want, is you could individually select faces and give them their own materials. And you would do that by selecting, we have base flooring selected, so that's your active selection. You would go into edit. And then once you're in edit mode, what you could actually do is down here, these 3 buttons, you have vertices, edge select, face select. You would choose face select, and then you could right click individual faces, and you could assign a material. However, I have another video about how to do that. Here I'm just going to show how to basically consolidate the materials. So for wood flooring, we're just going to give it 1 as if everything were going to be the same material. And this is to demonstrate to you how this also impacts your model. So we have base flooring. Go to posts, and if you notice here, we have a lot of material in posts. Let's get rid of all of those, right? Wow, see, there's a lot of them. And let's give it all 1. Excellent. And walls, let's do the same thing for that too. And because a lot of your surfaces will share different materials and different parts, and some of it will be hidden, you definitely wouldn't want all of that after you've joined it. Alright, so now we have base flooring, 1 material. Posts, it's all going to be 1 material. And walls, all 1 material. Okay. So now, click here, hold down Shift, and I'm going to manually select all my model. We're going to export it again. Default DAE, selection only is checked. And pick the directory. And it's going to be back to SL3. Okay, export. And let's check this one out now. Let's upload it. And it's the 3rd one. So we have the PRIM, our first, our second, and our 3rd. Let's calculate the weights and fees. And now if you notice, your land impact has dropped down to 1.979. Okay? And this here is a prime example of how materials undeniably have an influence on your land impact. So obviously we want to refine it and make it a little bit better. So I'm going to show you how to do that. I'll give you a good example. Over here in your model, right click on your walls, and you see walls are here. With your mouse in here, you can hit H or click the eyeball and it will hide that. You can go to posts, hide that, or you can hit H. You gotta select it though, yeah. Okay, so we have down here, we have wood flooring selected, we have one material, right? Let's get rid of it. This is comprised of 4 different parts, this base here, and these 3 different prims for my floor. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into edit mode. I have my face select here, selected, and I'm going to right click here, I'm going to hold down my shift and right click on the top here, and right click on the top here, and I'm going to click on that inside face and click on that inside face, and we'll do the floor separately. I'll click on there and I'll click on the side face. I'm going to add and I'll click new, and you can click assign, but I believe it's already assigned. Then we have this floor here. We have a big wall here, so I'm just thinking about which sides would ever be visible. It doesn't really matter, but we have that side and that side. We'll add new, assign, and we have this one. Let's select that inner one. I don't know if that's the one that would ever be visible, but let's just assume, right? Plus, new, assign. So now we've got 3 floors, and now for our base, we can select just the top part. We can give that one material, and then now we'll select, holding down shift now, all 4 of the sides and make that its own material. Plus, new, assign. Alright, cool. So instead of 1, realistically we'd have something like 5. So that's good for the floors. And then we can go over to our posts. The posts can all be the same. It will work out well that way as tileable texture. And walls, let's get rid of our flooring and let's bring our walls up. For the walls, we can go into edit mode and we'll do something very similar, except here it's even easier. So for this room, right click there, holding down shift, we're just selecting those faces, and let me go back into object mode. I want to get rid of the default material that I made before. Let's go back into edit. Those walls are already still selected when I go back into edit mode, so I'm going to do plus, new, assign. Excellent. Go to the next room here, holding down shift, I'm going to add new, assign, and last but not least is this room here. And I could make it different materials, but this is just an example of making the rooms different. A realistic use of materials for this consolidated group of mesh prims. And that should be good. We have 3 materials, 1 for inside this room, 1 for inside this room, and 1 for inside this room. Okay. However, we have the outside, and that's part of this object as well. So let's say that we wanted the outside all to be the same. Let's look at our post there too. Then we'll right click here, and we'll go all outside, and we'll make sure that the outside is given a material. Assign. Okay. Now we should have a more realistic idea of what the land impact would be on the overall for all of these. And we'll make sure that everything is visible. So we have our base flooring. We have 5 different ones. We have posts. We're just using 1. If you wanted to have the center one a different material, since it might be seen inside this room, you could easily do that as well. Walls. You see that we have 1, 2, 3 rooms, and then we have the outside of the structure. So we have everything together. Let's select everything, and let's do an export. And there's still more that we can do. I'm going to show you. Alright, so this one is called back to SL4, and I'm actually going to highlight this and copy it so that I can put that in as the file name when I upload it now. Build, upload mesh model. And we're going to do the 4th one, open, and I just copied that so I can paste it here. Yay. And now let's do calculate weights and fees. And you see now, utilizing the materials the way we would actually use it, it's going to come out to 2.374. So far we got it down from 21 to 2.374. Now let's say you're very meticulous, as I know I am. I will now show you how to go ahead and cut just a little bit more from it. And then after that, I will show you how to cut even just a little bit more from that. So we have 2 more cuts we can do. All right, so 2.34, let's upload that so we have our sample. Excellent. We're going to res that here to the right. Excellent. Wonderful. As you can see, we now have different material assignments. And to show you how that works, we would right click and edit, and then we would go to select face, and that will work for everything that is at all combined as a material. So for example, if I were to, I'm going to select off of here though, I select one of the posts, you'll notice that, oops, all of the posts are selected in yellow. If I select this wall here, then if you'll notice that all of these walls are highlighted in there. Oh, I may have goofed up. This wall is all one piece, so this is a sample, so this wall here extends over the whole thing. That's why it's joined in this room. But as you can see, when I want to do something different with my flooring, I can do that floor separately. I can do this floor separately, that floor separately. The top of there, over here. I have a few things that are extra in this model, but that's basically how you do that. So let's go to the next thing that we can do. Go to Blender. Alright, so now hide pretty much everything now, and go over to base flooring, so you only see that. Alright, well, we have walls in between everything, so what we're going to do is we're going to delete things that we're not going to see. So for example, we have the underneath. We're going to select base flooring and make sure it's there, edit, and face select. I'm going to right click the bottom here, and I'm going to click delete, and I'm going to choose faces because I'm in face select mode. So I just deleted that bottom face, which I don't need. The rest of it can stay for that base part. And now we have our floors. All of these sides are going to be up against walls, so I really only need this top part. There's also an underside to it that I could get rid of as well, but I'm not going to bother with that and be that meticulous. But I'm going to select those faces and hit delete faces. Excellent. Hit here, delete faces. Delete faces. I can select it from the inside as well. Delete faces. Delete faces. Yeah. And now for the floors, we've done a good job, as you can see, of getting rid of things we're not going to see. We got rid of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. And then there are actual bottoms to these as well. However, I don't think... Oh yeah, we have our bottoms that we can get rid of right down here. Excellent. Alright, so we've consolidated all of that in our base flooring, which is excellent. Something to be mindful of, we've already assigned our materials, so if we change any of that material assignment kind of stuff, we might want to just redo it to make sure that we're not having anything fall funny that's not there anymore. So we got our base flooring done, and as a matter of fact, go into object mode, go ahead and delete those material types, because normally you would do that after this consolidation step if you choose to do it or not. And then now we can go, we're in face select. Now we can go ahead and choose this, plus new assign, plus new assign, plus new assign, plus new assign, and then last but definitely not least, all the sides is 1, plus new assign. Okay, so we have our base flooring covered. We've minimalized that even more by getting rid of any hidden faces that we don't actually see. Object mode, now we can hide that. I'm going to show this, and we're also going to make that active to posts. Okay, again, go into edit mode. We definitely know that the bottoms of these we're not going to need. So holding down shift, I'll select as many of them as I can accurately from a distance. I'm so used to doing this I can do it from a distance. So I got the bottoms out of all of these, and the tops we won't be seeing either because the roof or other floors would be hiding that. Select all those tops, delete, delete faces. Alright, and just to be safe, I guess for now that's how we'll keep it. If anything were truly going to be hidden or whatnot, you could always go ahead and remove that later and just reassign your materials. I'm going to take away the material that I made for that. Like I said again, normally I wouldn't do the materials until I'm done knowing exactly what the topology is going to really be. Alright, and then what I'm actually going to do is give it one material again, just like I did before, and move on to walls, and then we'll be done. Let's get rid of these materials again, remember. Go into edit mode, and of course we're really not going to need any of these tops for the walls. We're not going to see any of that. So think of the, you know, with a large model, when you take this extra meticulous step, how much more you can really shave off of it. And if you're doing it along the way, it takes care of a lot of work for you. And going to the underneath, I'm going to do the same thing. There's something about this process too that I feel a great amount of pride in my build, because I know that it takes a little bit of an extra going above and beyond just all the acceptable steps to make it truly as refined as possible. And something about that just gives me a great sense of satisfaction. Okay, so we've gotten rid of the tops and bottoms. Now we need to get rid of the sides. And this process, once you get used to it, goes a lot faster than you would imagine. And especially if you're just by yourself and you're not really, you know, concentrating on anything else, you'll find that these things are quite easy. And although there are a lot of parts, it's not difficult to be able to get the task done in a very short amount of time. Holding down shift and then pressing B allows me to draw a box that when I'm done drawing and I release, gives me a better perspective where I might be wanting to select and work. Those faces. Okay, am I missing anything here? There's a face there that I'm missing. Delete that. And I'll do the shift B thing again over here to see if I missed anything there. No. Don't feel too bad if you do miss something. Nobody's perfect, but just do my best, and I don't think I missed anything there. So I get the tops and bottoms and the sides of all the walls. Excellent. So now I am going to, in face select mode, begin selecting my faces so I can make my materials again. So I have, remember this wall is all one, so to work around that right now, I'll make it as though both of these rooms are going to have the same walls. That way it would be uniform. Okay, so this room and the inside of that room, we're going to give that its material, and then there'll be a second room. And this way this one can have different texture. New, assign, and let's select the outside. 2, 3, 4. And we have the outside of our structure. Okay, add new, assign. Alright, so we've consolidated and we have reassigned our materials to make sure that everything is uniform and correct. Now we can go back into object mode and we can do an export. Now after this, there's only one additional thing that you can do to truly perfect the land impact of your upload. Let's check the second to last out now. Everything is proper there. And this one is going to be our 5th one. Excellent. And export. And let's upload this. Upload mesh model number 5. Open. And we'll calculate weights and fees. And now look, its land impact is 0.5. Which means it's going to round up to 1 land impact. Okay, that's amazing. Amazing. Back to SL5. Right. Oh, okay. I made a mistake. I didn't select all. I'm not sure if I did, but let me just double check on that, because selection all, desktop, back to SL5. Okay, let me just re-upload that. I'm going to delete that. Sometimes you might find you make a little bit of an error in how you upload it. You know, just redo it, make sure you follow the right steps. You know what you're doing. Calculate weights and fees, 0.5. And I'm not seeing part of the model. Oh, that's because it's hidden. Something to be mindful of. If you have those parts of the model hidden, it's not going to come through. I apologize. Okay. Now it'll work. Default, selection, desktop. Okay. Alright, now we'll see what it will really be. My apologies for that, but it's good to see that, because these things will happen, and if you just take a moment to look and see what it is, you realize there is no problem and everything's okay. Okay, so now we should see really what it would be. Alright, so realistically it would be 1.5. So we managed to get it down more to 1.5, and that's great. Let's upload it. Okay, we have back to SL5 now. Alright, so now this one is a land impact of 2. It rounded it up. This one was also a land impact of 2. That's a land impact of 2. It's kind of hard to get it under 2. But that last thing I was talking about, physics. Your model has a certain amount of physics to it. And by default, when you don't dictate what those physics are going to be, it's going to put them in, and it's going to be under convex hull. And for those models, the only options you'll have is convex hull or none, but it will not allow you to choose none. It will put it back to convex hull. So, you can create your own physics if you want. And there's multiple ways of doing it. You can do it from a file, or you can do it from actually having another mesh that you superimpose with it, and you basically make transparent, and you change a few settings around. And I'm going to show you that right now as well. I will also have a separate physics video available, so that that's readily available and accessible for anybody who's only looking to learn about the physics portion of this. Okay, so let's go back into our Blender, and we have our model here that we've consolidated beautifully. So what we're going to do now is we're going to think about the physics. Again, physics is when you are in the environment, and when I come up to this wall, I can go through this wall right now because the physics on it are, one, improper. Sometimes they'll be good, sometimes they won't be, and you can look at them by going into Edit, and next to where Features is, Physics Shape Type, this eyeball, by clicking it you take that away. And now, looking at your model, you can see what the physics are for it. Clicking on this one, you can see the physics are a little different. They seem to run along with the wall. So we're getting different physics. This one has more intricate physics. This one has a different kinds of physics. So, for example, going over to this one, you'll notice that it doesn't allow me to go through the wall. The physics are a little bit more precise there. You can create your own though, so you can dictate the complexity of it and have it be correct. So for this model here, there's multiple ways of doing it, okay? We'll choose the very first way, the simple way, that sometimes is an easy way. You could do build, upload, mesh model, and you can incorporate this in the upload process. We'll choose the same file that we have here. However, we're going to go over, and I'm going to call this the same thing but _2. We're going to go over to the physics tab this time. And what we're going to choose is, we're going to choose high. Oftentimes, unfortunately, with a build like a building or something like that, high is usually the best option if you're going to have doorways and a few things that need to be accommodated, and you're only going to use SL's upload ability to auto-create your physics. You would go to here, and you could go to preview. That would be acceptable for this complexity here. And click Analyze. You have to click Analyze. And once that is done, you should be able to zoom in and see physics in your model represented by various colors, which we are seeing here. If you notice, there are different little colors. You could choose other combinations and you might see different shapes and whatnot, but this is the physics that it's determining. Now you can go back to here and you can calculate weights and fees, and now it's giving it a land impact of 2.680, and that's because it's adding additional physics. But remember here, this was great that it's only a land impact of 2, however the physics for it are incomplete. So this is one way of doing physics. Physics are a component that you will have to worry about, so this is extremely relevant at the end of your build. This is what makes your build usable and what allows you to continue to control that land impact with the complexity of your model, because the physics are part of the complexity. There's also, I'll show you the next thing with the physics. Land impact right now would be 2.680. We're going to upload that, and this is the second version of SL5. I'm going to put that in over here. And as you notice here, it's a land impact of 3, so it rounded it up. But you'll also notice that, unlike the other one, I don't go through the walls. Not entirely anyway. Okay? But you'll also notice, okay, that I'm kind of like, you know, it's still not perfect. It's not like the other one. It has a much higher land impact. I'm still sinking into the wall a little bit, right? And to me, that's not acceptable. But it's how this one is working. You can increase the quality of it if you want and play around and get it so that you can have a better, but it's going to give you a higher land impact, which we don't want. So I'm showing you how to get a lower land impact. Now I'm going to show you how to get the physics and pretty much keep the land impact exactly the way it is. So we're going to go into Blender, and for this what you're going to do is you're going to actually choose base floor, you're going to hide your posts, because you're going to make a separate file that you're going to tell it that it's the physics for this one. And you're going to have only your base floor, and you're going to have your walls. And that is it. That's what you're going to have. Now you're going to select base walls, base flooring I mean, and walls, and do file. You're going to export and save that in the same directory, but this one, save it with an indicator that it's your physics. Selection only, yep. And nothing hidden that you want. Expo Consolidate. Alright, so now we're going to use that file and tell it that that's what the physics are for it. So it knows exactly what to do. It doesn't actually calculate anything for itself. So we'll go to build and upload, and we're going to do it the same way that we did before, where we have SL5. And this time we're going to go to physics, but instead of any of these, we're going to go from file and browse. And on my desktop, the physics file I just made. So open. And then analyze. And this should be a lot more accurate. So yeah, analyze, surface, preview, analyze again, okay. That'll make it the lowest as possible. And calculate weights and fees. We're at 2.04, so it might round it up to 3. But I was trying to keep it at 2 while having perfect physics, but it's at 2.04. Oh my. Back to SL5, and we're going to call that underscore 3. And upload. Okay. Now let's put that one here in the front. Alright. So we have that model now, and notice how good the walls are. You can't go into the walls. Won't let you. It's the highest quality that it would be in any other way. And it's because you're using the exact file but only the parts you want. It's not calculating the posts because they're not needed. So let's right click and look at that. It did keep it at 2. Alright, so by this method we were able to get it to exactly 2, which is the lowest we were able to do, but also have all the physics. And we'll bring this over to here so we can have a comparison now. So we have our original here at the top, and then we have our optimized one here. Perfect. And that's exactly how it would be done. And then the other method that you could do if you absolutely really needed to, but in this case it would raise it up to 4, would be that you could go to any one of these, edit, and if you go to general, object, if you make it phantom, no matter what physics it has, you'll just go right through it. And then what you can do is take what you would be using for your physics, and instead of doing it from file, if you have a problem and it doesn't seem to align it or situate your physics model in your upload correctly, then you can make your upload phantom, and you might even be able to give it a physics file as well to reduce the impact of it. That's like just one prim. That way it doesn't have a high physics and you get the lowest with it, and make it phantom. And then take this file that you upload and move it over it, and then make it transparent, so that basically the physics of this model ends up becoming the physics for this one by being an invisible overlay. And that's the last but not least way that you can do physics in a very complex build, if you have to and you're not able to use from file successfully with your upload. And now we're just going to do some of that texturing. I want to take the physics visibility back off though, And when you do your texturing, always remember you have to be in select face. And then I click off the model, and then again I'm going to select one wall, and as you can see here, it's already automatically letting me know it's selecting the walls that I determined. So I'll go to here, and I'll change colors for things here. So for this I'll make it purple. Okay, and then I'll select one of the walls in there, and everything is grouped together, so I should just be able to click here, and I'm going to make this red. Excellent. And the outside, I'm just going to select once here, and I'll change that color to blue. Okay, excellent. I'm going to select face. It should just be that one floor. I'm going to change this to yellow. Make it a bright, screaming yellow. Select that floor. This here, I will make it a vibrant orange. And this over here, I will make it a really nice green, a really vibrant, crazy green. Select one of the posts. They all illuminate. I will make the posts very gray, dark gray. Okay, I'll make the very top of this this color here, and then I'll select one of the outside faces, and that's all a group. And for this one, what I'll do is I'll make it a purple. Excellent. And we'll get out of edit mode. And now, as you can see, our material assignments make it very easy for us to put these materials in. And last but not least, when those materials are being put on, select face, select one of them. This needs to also be changed to planar. And reason being is using a tileable texture on the layouts here. In order for the tileable texture to lay out correctly, it needs to recognize planar as being the manner in which it's going to do that. Otherwise, it will not apply correctly. So just make sure when you're texturing with any of your textures, it can have bumpiness, shininess, whatever, make sure you change it to planar so that you can go ahead and have an even overall controllable tileable texture, and you can control that by going into your horizontal and vertical. And you'll have full control over how you want everything to be, as well as what faces of every prim are going to get the application of whatever texture that you're putting on. So, and that's pretty much it as far as this goes. I hope that this has been helpful for you to be able to not just minimize the land impact of a build that you're putting together with prims, but also like super optimize it the same way that any real true professional would be able to do, no less, and to be able to wind up with fully physics, all the materials that you want on it exactly where you want for a land impact of 2 versus 21. So absolutely amazing. And thank you so much for watching my video. If you have any other questions, you have any comments or anything, just feel free to write down below, hit me up in the message, and I'll talk to you soon. Thank you.